Welcome. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Garbage to Gold. I got my second guest here, a good friend of mine. We go way back. We have a lot of history. This is Cody Bridgman. He comes from, where are you from?
Cuba,
Missouri. So I'm from Sullivan, Missouri. Cody's from Cuba, Missouri. How old are you?
I'm 29 years old.
29 years old. So crazy story here. So several years ago, coming up on about 10 years now, I had some legal trouble. And I actually had to go to jail. And it was my first time, having to sit in jail for, more than like a short few hours. Got in some trouble, and I had to do about 15, 16 days and in the county jail. And when I got in there, Cody here was one of the first people that I met. And this dude is such a fucking trip that from that day forward, like, we've just remained friends. I went out, after I got out, I went and did my own thing. Cody, unfortunately, just had some troubles, man.
Went the other direction.
Went the other direction. But I've been friends online with you for, ever since we got out of jail.
What, probably 10 years ago?
Yeah, I'd say that was like 2015 when I was in there. So we've been friends on Facebook, and I've noticed over the past year that Cody's really been, one, hitting the weight room, really taking care of himself, really trying to pull himself out of that, that rough lifestyle, that drug life, just, it's no good. You've been really working fucking hard to get it right. And I appreciate that. And, anybody that's working like that, they got my respect, my attention. Cody reached out to me this week and said that he wanted to come on the podcast and just kind of share, what it's been like, from the early days to where you are now. And I figured, what better person to have on than somebody who's literally been, on the journey from garbage to gold. You've been to the worst of the worst, and you've also, you've improved your life a lot. So you got some highs and some good highs.
Say today's golden compared to where he was when we met.
Hell
That's
yeah.
For sure.
All right, well, before we jump in, make sure you guys like and subscribe and share the video. We got some good shit here today. Anybody out there who's struggling with addiction or just going through a rough patch in life, it could be, your girl just left you, your man just left you, you got fired from work, you're doing drugs, you're drinking, you're overeating, whatever your vices may be, you just got to know that,
you're important.
Yeah.
You're important, man, and you're worth it, and you matter. And the people around you, they care. You just got to care yourself.
Right. Exactly. There are people out there that care about you and want the best for you. I remember whenever I was in my rough patch, I just felt like, why should I care? Nobody else cares. That's literally the worst way to think about it, because, there are people that care about you. And, when you're out there acting up and doing drugs and fucking your life up, you're just hurting them. Because then people do care about you, and it's like you're shitting on them. But without further ado, we're gonna get in here. We're gonna talk to Cody, and he's gonna share his story. So Cody, why don't you tell us? Let's start at the beginning. From like, let's say your first grade.
All right. So let me start off by saying, guys, I'm really nervous, man. So if I seem kind of antsy, like,
don't worry about it.
It's because I'm nervous, and I am antsy. Well, Joe, you want me to start childhood?
Yeah, just kind of like, what was the first hometown? You're from Cuba, so what was?
I grew up in Cuba, Missouri. Born and raised there, spent most of my life there. Growing up as a kid, man, like I come from an environment where, my whole family, like we were kind of just my last name in Cuba. We were kind of the outcasts. We were the tough guys, so to speak. Man, that was the cool thing to do. So I thought that to be cool, I had to follow suit, man, and I tried my best. I've always kind of been an extreme person, and I want to do everything just one step farther than the last guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether it's good, whether it's bad. Even today, man, like I just want to, like everything I do, I want to take that extra step. You know?
Right. Go hard.
Go hard. Can I cuss?
Yeah, you can cuss.
And growing up as a kid, man, I had this. It was Cody motherfucking Bridgman.
Right. Yeah. Whenever I met you, exactly.
And well, that's just.
So when you were, you know, let's say, go back probably like first, second grade, when you start early grade school, you're still living in Cuba.
Yeah,
what was your home life like? Did you have a mom and a dad in the household, or who all was there with you?
I grew up with a mom and a dad in the household. My parents, man, they both loved me, but they struggled. And,
Did they have addiction problems too?
My parents had addiction problems. I actually found out when I was 15. This is something I might get into more later. Found out when I was 15 that my father wasn't my biological father, and it's kind of a hard hit because I didn't know that till I was 15, man. Even
right.
But yeah, my parents struggled with addiction, and with addiction, man, anybody that's experienced knows that addiction's just the brink of the iceberg. So, like in my household as a kid, there was all kinds of random people in and out. I had more uncles.
Always people coming and going.
Yeah. I had more aunts and uncles than I could count, and most of them were just probably random people.
Right.
But they, as a young impressionable kid, they all made an impact. To top all that off, man, I've always been a very emotional person, and I had ADHD through the roof, man. I was a wild kid.
Right. So you struggled in school and stuff? Did you get in trouble a lot at school?
Academically, like I excelled when I put my mind to something. My problem was I had a hard time keeping my focus on anything longer than 5 seconds.
Right.
And if something didn't challenge me, it couldn't get my focus at all.
Right.
Like,
how many did you graduate high school?
So, I stayed in public school till the 7th grade. In the 7th grade, I got put into an alternative school.
What happened there? What was the reason behind that?
Man, I was a little pothead, man. I had this little afro,
Right.
skater kid, man. And so I would skip school to smoke weed.
What year was that?
Shoot, I couldn't tell you, brother. I couldn't.
So you're 29.
Yeah,
so
I'm
we're
29.
7th grade probably would have been like 2007 for you, probably. Because you would have been a couple years behind, maybe 2 years behind me.
Bro, you would be better off asking me a trigonometry question.
All right, so 7th grade, you're done with public school, and then you go
I got sent to this alternative school, and in Cuba, the alternative school was just a trailer in the back parking lot.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And basically, I got sent there because truancy, fighting.
Were your parents pretty strict on you as far as like?
Absolutely not.
They weren't like, hey, Cody, you need to do your chores, you need to do your homework, you need to be straight, you need to be acting good at school.
My parents did their best for me that they could, but like I said,
they made sure the lights were on.
They most of the time,
right?
There was.
Did you feel like that? That they did. They were trying for you. No, they cared about you. They loved you.
What
they
I can
just
say
had a lot
about
of
my
vices.
parents, man, is that they did their best. That they knew how at that moment.
Right.
But like I said, they were struggling too, man. I don't even know if they knew who they were.
Right.
At that point in time, they had a long journey ahead of them. They were trying to figure out. Kids maybe weren't. Maybe it wasn't the best time for them.
Probably.
Probably. And
they just kind of
did their best, man. I'm not taking nothing away from my parents. They both loved me unconditionally, and my dad broke his back every day of his life to make sure we had. As a family, man, there was never a day I spent on the streets because my family didn't have anywhere to go. But I remember times as a kid, man, like I was a very smart kid. And I remember when I was like 11 or 12, man, when my parents would get their tax refunds. And they would go through it so quick on
Right.
things that we didn't need.
That was the one day of the year where we were rich. You know?
Yeah, but like even then, like I remember we lived in this house on the end of School Street, and we got no electric. We got a house, we got no electric, and we got all furniture, and it's a nice house. Could have been a nice house, but instead of turning the electric on and buying groceries, my parents wanted to go and stay in a suite at the Super 8 for 2 weeks for whatever reason, you know.
Fuck.
Like,
yeah.
and I remember even at 11 or 12 years old, like I would see this stuff and I notice it. Like
Yeah, something ain't right, you know.
And I don't know if normal 11 and 12-year-olds worry about like, hey, my parents got this money, but we're going to be hungry again in a couple of weeks, man.
Right.
And I mean, since I'm here, man, and I'm trying to get this message out, man. There's no point in not being completely honest, man. Like, as a child, man, I was embarrassed a lot. Like, I was ashamed. Like, I remember one time in the 4th grade, man, there was this teacher, and her name was Miss Wheeler. And Miss Wheeler, if you see this, I still hate you.
Yeah, dude.
I remember in the 4th grade, man.
I had some teachers like that for sure.
Dude, like, no teacher should handle a situation like this, man. I remember I was living at this house on Fleener Street in Cuba, man, and we didn't have no water. And I couldn't tell you how many years ago it was, but like I don't know how many days it had been since I had been able to shower or get clean clothes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
like you guys were on that.
I sat in the back of the classroom, and my 4th grade teacher calls me out from the front of the classroom. She stops her teaching and she says, "Cody, when is the last time you showered? I could smell you from here."
Jesus
and
Christ.
I was in 4th grade. You know, that was like one of the most embarrassing days of my life, dude. Like,
right, man. It's not your fault. You're a little kid.
I wanted to shrink away, and you know, so I don't want to put blame anywhere, but I feel like a lot of my acting out, man, came because, like, you know, I was embarrassed. Like, hand-me-down shoes. I was never the kid that had the, you know, the new cool clothes. Like,
right.
I was.
That's tough. You know, that's tough on a kid. You know, when you're coming to school with 20, 30 other kids and, you know, you're looking one way and the rest of them are looking another and you're kind of like, wait a minute, something don't add up here. And then especially when a fucking teacher's, you know, calling you out and you're just a little child, like, you had no control over that. So I've seen that shit. I mean, I went to a small school. Yeah, there are teachers that just they fucking put a target on a kid.
I mean, like,
it's the weirdest shit ever.
What teacher is gonna call out a 4th grade student from in front of the rest of the class and tell them they can smell them from here?
Obviously, like, this kid's in a rough spot.
This really needs to be addressed. Like, I get it, but like maybe I was a menace in the classroom.
Yeah,
but still,
I mean, I definitely
you are
was.
a grown woman, man.
Right,
like,
we're children.
You got trying to embarrass me.
No shit,
You
that's
know?
terrible. Yeah, I hope wherever she is, she's been divorced and nobody loves her. So, but anyway,
God, you know, Miss Wheeler, God forgives you, but I have a hard time.
Yeah, right on. So, all right, 7th grade, you're done with school. When did you? When was the first time you tried drugs, and what was it?
Well, let's kind of go back to this the school thing because they all kind of correlate.
Okay.
So around the 7th grade, my second time in the 7th grade, I failed the 7th grade for truancy. I missed too much school, and on the second time around, they sent me into that alternative school, and that alternative school had this program where you can catch up on credits and classes electronically on a program on a computer. So, like, you could even get things done faster than the rest of the kids.
Right.
That was the year I do believe I had tried pot for the first time. You know, I was
how old were you? 13 or
12, 13.
12, 13.
I remember I had I remember it had something to do with it. I traded a skateboard, I want to say. I traded a skateboard for a bag of weed or something. No, I'm lying to you guys. I apologize, man. I think, I'm not going to mention no names because I don't want to get nobody in trouble, but I want to say that the first time I smoked, me and my cousin, who was my best friend at the time, his parents actually kind of raised me because they kept food and they
Right.
You know, that was my safe
So
haven
you
to
did
go.
have, when you weren't at your mom and dad's, there was some family around
Yeah,
that
man,
could
I had
kind
I
of
had
bridge the
this
gap.
cousin that lived right there. Was, you know where the Rose Bar is in Cuba?
Mm-hmm.
I lived on this side of the Rose, and there's a field behind it, and my cousin lived behind the Rose. So
So like over by Grand Avenue, like Grand.
Grand. Okay, so
I just bought a house on Grand.
so, bro, it's like literally the only house on this side, like heading
Yeah.
towards McGinnis, on that block that the
Right.
Rose is on.
Yeah, I know what
That
you're
was
talking
my
about.
cousin's. My
Okay.
cousin is Justin Copeland. His dad's Kevin Copeland. And he was the
Oh yeah,
alderman.
I buy a lot of shit from them.
Yeah. So the first time I tried was with me and Justin tried, and we had found it somewhere. I'm not gonna say where. I don't want to get nobody in trouble.
That's no big
but-
deal.
Yeah, but we thought we were cool as shit, man. And then of course, this is where the skateboard comes in, man. I'd found it and we tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I had traded a skateboard to an older kid, my friend Mike, that he smoked weed, to get me a 40 bag, which back then I want to say was a quarter ounce
Yeah.
of Reggie.
$40 was a quarter ounce back then of
Yeah.
some Reg.
And well, my thing was, remember I told you even when I was 11 or 12, man, I noticed finances and I knew that I didn't have things like other kids had. Like at this point, my cousin Justin, like he was the kid that always had the new stuff, got a new wardrobe every school year, all that.
Right.
I always got his hand-me-downs. Like I'd get his last year's wardrobe. But anyway,
Right.
long story short, I had this skateboard, bro, and I traded it, I want to say, for a quarter ounce. And I got somebody to teach me how to roll joints. And then I sold them joints for $5 a piece so I can get more weed. And I figured out how to, like my cousin, he had already gotten, you remember them old cell phones, the track phones?
Yeah.
They were like bricks. They're like this big, and that little, the antenna that slid
Right.
out. And you had to, so, you know, like I wanted to get me a cell phone. So I sold my skateboard for a quarter ounce of weed, and then I sold the weed and I, would get more, and then
Yeah. So now you're kind of hustling a little bit. You're
yeah,
14
because,
years old and you're kind of running around and
I think at this
Yeah.
point, man, I'm still closer to 12 or 13.
right.
You see, with my parents being addicts and me being their oldest kid, like I had told you before, like my family name in the small town, everybody knew my parents, So
Right.
when I decided to get into this scene, I guess you could call it,
Right.
I already had a foot in the door,
Right.
I guess.
So you seen
I,
what other people were doing and were kind of
Well, it was easy for me where it wasn't easy for my cousin because his parents weren't ever around people like this.
right.
It was easy for me to already know a hookup.
Right.
So once we started smoking, I'm like, hey, Justin, so-and-so.
yeah.
Yeah. So then, I traded the skateboard. I got me a bag, and then I sold all my little joints until I could get another bag. And before said and done, that's what it was for me. From the moment I started smoking, I taught myself how to sell the joints.
Right.
And then, everybody called me Little B back then. I was
Right.
Little B, and I was a little shithead. But I convinced this older gentleman into letting me buy a quarter and then fronting me a quarter. And, I was the youngest little weed salesman in our town.
Right. So when did you go to high school at all?
No, not publicly. So I got put in that alternative school. I was there, I want to say, for 2 years. And
How old were you when you quit school altogether?
I never quit. 13 going on, or maybe it was 12 going on 13, or 13 going on 14. One of those. I got in trouble because somebody had told them that I had sold them a joint at school.
Right.
So they searched my cousin Mike's car, and I don't remember if they found something or not, but they brought in a juvenile officer to the alternative school.
Michael picked that up.
Oh,
Like
sorry.
the sound.
I get fidgety.
It's all good. It's all good.
Long story short, man, they brought in a juvenile officer, and the juvenile officer and the school guidance counselor, they set up a meeting and they asked me where I got the weed, man, and I thought I was gonna be a little tough ass. And they got my parents in there, and they got the guidance counselor and the principal and the juvenile officer, and they're like, "Where did you get the weed? We need to know so you don't hurt other kids." And
Right.
I thought I was so cool, man. I gave this response. I said, "I have the right to remain silent, don't I?" Dude, I'm like, score, man. I'm super cool now. I didn't.
I got the
snitch.
right to remain silent. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that juvenile officer, his name was Nick Hutchins. Boy, he got so hot, his face turned beet red. I remember his reaction like it was yesterday. I said, "I got the right to remain silent." He says, "Yeah, but it won't be in your best interest."
Right.
Well, long story short, I got sent to juvenile hall.
Right.
And I was in juvenile hall in Union, Missouri for 3 days. They called it the Juvenile Justice Center. And then I got set up with this thing called a service coordinator, which is through the Division of Youth Services. And they took me from the juvenile hall. Officer Doug Shelton actually came in.
Doug Shelton. Okay, yeah, I know
He
him.
was the school dare officer. And then he come and he picked me up from the juvenile hall, and he took me to this court case where, well, it was a court date where the judge determines if they should take guardianship from my parents and put me in the Division of Youth Services. And Doug was cool, man. Shout out to Officer
Doug Shelton.
Shelton, man. I got my first cool haircut I had ever had in my life that wasn't just a buzz cut from my dad.
Right.
On the way to court, I asked Officer Shelton if he could take me to get my haircut. So we stopped by Brooke Ettinger's Easy Cuts right there on, I want to say it's Main Street there in Cuba. And he paid to get my haircut before we went down there, man. And I didn't know no hairstyles. So I'm like, "Give me one like yours." So, yeah, I've been getting my haircut like that ever since.
That's
so, yeah,
awesome,
shout
man.
out to Doug, man.
Yeah, Doug's a really, really nice guy. He cares a lot about what he's trying to do.
And he was a good guy. And well, anyway, long story short, I got put into DYS custody, which is the Division of Youth Services, is like the next step up.
How long were you with them?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
And
where were you at? So were you going back home? Were you seeing your parents in this 2
so
years,
the way it
or were
works,
you like?
man, they'll send you to a facility. They got minimum security, they got medium security, they got max. So minimum is just basically like summer camp,
Right.
and medium is a little. It's almost the same thing, but
For
with,
kids that are like a little more violent.
no, just it could be that they're a little more violent, or it could be that they're a little more non-receptive to
Right.
authority, or
Right.
it could be like they're a run risk
Right.
or something like that. I skipped something, so just to touch on it real quick, the reason I went to a medium was they had tried be somewhere in between this. I don't remember how it all played out, but somewhere in between when I got caught with the weed at school and when I got sent to DYS, they tried to send me to a juvenile rehab center, and I ran.
Oh, okay. So that's
So,
why. All right.
Yeah. So I got sent to a medium, which was a place called Sears in Poplar Bluff, Missouri.
Poplar Bluff, man.
And
What a place.
I was there for 2.5 years. Man, it's a 4-month and 21-day program, but I'm a knucklehead, and it takes a long time to get things through here. So,
Right.
I'm a little hard-headed. So what I could have got done in 4 months and 21 days, I still didn't have accomplished at 2.5 years. I never did accomplish their program. Actually, I got released on some pretty tragic circumstances. We can get into that if you want to.
Yeah. So what ended up happening? Why were you not able to complete the program? Were you still using? Were you kind of breaking out of there? Or?
So, you've seen my burns.
Right. Yeah. You said that there was.
Can I show the camera the scars? or-
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna show you guys my burn scars, man. I got 37% of my body is a 3rd-degree burn, and I'm gonna tell you why in a second.
Maybe scoot back just a little. I can even film it after too, and I'll put it on there.
These are all burn scars.
All
Right, so
Your
in
day-to-day
the
at
morning, we would wake up as a group, transition, hygiene, transition back, put our hygiene stuff up, get ready for school, get our books for school. We would transition to the classroom. We would do it half a day of classes in school. Everybody was at a different level, you know, because these kids are coming in here at all different ages. So
Right.
everybody's getting their own individual curriculum. Whereas you may have chose to want to do GED, you're getting GED curriculum.
Right.
I could be getting high school curriculum.
So you're not allowed to really interact with the girls at
Absolutely
the
not.
facility, but it was a really cool place for you because you got like PE and you got
It
to do
was,
some. What was that thing that you said?
There was this thing, we called it ABC, but it stood for Adventure-Based Counseling. And
Okay. That sounds awesome.
basically what it was is it taught you how to have fun or interact or find things in a normal everyday life that was meaningful, you know. And they taught us stuff, and they would take us on these trips. Like I said, we went rappelling, which I've never done before or since. I rappelled off a helicopter skid and down a rock face wall. We went on camping trips. I went whitewater rafting. I learned how to canoe.
So would you say that this time, even though you're in, you know, away from your family and you're in kind of like a juvenile thing, it was, would you say you were happy overall?
There's
Like-
pros and cons to everything, Joe.
Right.
Am I going to say I was happy? No.
No.
I was bitter that I wasn't. I was.
Did you meet anybody there that was cool that you still have contact
man,
with?
I still have. I actually just last week I ran into a kid. We haven't got to the burn thing yet, but
Right.
you know, like I got burnt while I was there, and
Yeah,
basically
we'll talk
some
about that
kids
next.
saved my life, you know. And I actually just a week ago, I ran into another kid that I was there with, and he is down in Branson, and I ran up to him and gave him a hug, you know, like
Holy shit.
I
Wow.
remember a lot of people from there, but
All right, so why don't we talk about what happened, you know, with the burn situation? So, like you said, there's 35% of your upper body is third degree burn or second degree burn.
I think it's like 37%.
37% is burn.
I tried to show you guys the scars earlier. If they aren't on there too good,
We'll show 'em.
Joe said he'll get a better look at them. See, what had happened was, man, first everybody wants to ask why, so I'm gonna go ahead and address that first. As kids, you don't have to have a reason to act out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kids don't need a reason to act out. Kids may act out because they need attention, or kids may act out because that's just who they are. You know
Right.
what I mean? Whereas adults, most things we do, there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Kids just do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you 100%.
So there was another youth in there. His name was Johnny, and can't remember his last name. He's actually he's passed away now. He got shot after he got out.
Oh, fuck.
He was from St. Louis, and he was I don't want to say a bad kid.
But you and
Because
him
that's
just
not
didn't get
fair.
along.
It's not even that.
Right.
Like I said, it's not even that. There was no reason. That's why I said there's no reason. He was just he was a troubled kid, man, and he got transferred to our medium level facility because he was too much of a handful and got too much trouble at a maximum facility. So somewhere in these people's brains, they thought it was better to transfer him to this medium because maybe he'll respond better to that.
Yeah.
Long story short, the kid was still crazy.
Right.
Anyway, this kid, Johnny, man, he had been acting out for like a week, man. Like he'd stole the staff's iPod or iPhone or something and hid it. We were walking in line one time, and he tapped this kid, Zach, on the shoulder, and when he turned around, he punched him for no reason. He was just acting out for attention or whatever he was doing.
Damn. So, yeah.
So I don't know if it was something that he planned intentionally for me or whatever. Remember one night before bed, we're doing chores, and this kid was my I don't know if you call it bunkie. What would you call it? Just roommate? What do you call someone that sleeps in the same bunk bed as you if it's not in jail? Like, what is that called?
Shit, I don't know. Like, I guess we'll compare it to jail. It's like a bunk.
He was my bunkie. You
Right.
know, he slept on the top bunk. I slept on the bottom bunk. And we're taught in DYS that if you see somebody having a bad day, you approach them and you ask them what's going on. You try to help them. So we were doing chores. I had been there for about 2.5 years now, and this was the closest I had ever been to going home.
Right.
You know, I was maybe a month, 2 months into going home, or before I was going to go home. I approached the kid and I said, "What's up, man? You all right?" And he said, "Yeah." And he just kind of shrugged me off. So I went to go turn around and he started punching me. Boom. So I was a lot bigger than the kid. I worked out a lot when I was in DYS. He was 14, I was 16. So when he started punching me, I turned around and I picked the kid up and I slammed him on the ground. There's these things in there called restraints. And basically, if me and you got in a fight, the other 10 kids, the staff would see it and they would yell restraint. Well, the other 10 kids, I'm going to stand up, guys. It was their job to like rush you. You attack me, so I'm the other 10 kids.
Right.
Rush you in. So once these...
So everybody gets involved?
Yeah, so if me and Joe was to get into a fight, the staff would yell restraint, and the other 10 kids would rush us and pin us to the ground, and they would hold us there. And this is so like savage, like
right,
like the way they handled this situation, man. I don't think it would be legal in today's society,
right?
But how restraints went would the group would slam the kid, and when I say slam, yes, we as kids took this opportunity to slam. Like, we thought it was cool. The harder we slammed them, the cooler we thought it was.
Right.
But once you're on the ground, you lay out flat. You lay out flat, hands by your side, legs straight, face up. You'd have one person pressing down here, another person pressing down here, another person pressing down on your thigh, another person pressing down on your shin, same on the other side of your body.
Ground.
They pin you to the ground.
How long was it before the...
Now, the concept, Joe, this is fucked up. This is a very fucked up thing. And like I said, I don't even know if it would be legal nowadays.
Right.
The concept was to restrain, just simply restrain, not to hurt, but to restrain. The group restrained because we're minors and the staff couldn't do it. So the other kids were to restrain you until you were calm and you could process. But...
So was there an adult, like, at least watching it?
Yeah. But here's the thing, man. It wasn't that anymore. It wasn't just holding you down.
Right.
At some point throughout the years, the staff got restraining you and holding you down mixed up with how do I say this? Into trying to make it as painful as possible until you, I for lack of better words, I'd say submitted to their will.
Right.
And
okay.
So basically, instead of
trying to get you to calm down, they're trying to inflict pain on you. So
like this. So long story short, man, like what started as a process to restrain you until you were calm became a process. And this was the way it was when I got there. It was the way it was when I left. I don't know if it's different anymore, but the process became who could push down on each part of where you're at the hardest.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you right now, brother.
That shit fucking hurt.
That shit hurt. And then some of these kids, man, some of these kids were sick. Like, we had kids in there for some fucked up shit. Well, this one kid was in there for burning down a school. Another kid's in there for touching on his sister.
Right.
The kid that burnt me was in there for a shooting situation where he had shot at somebody in a drive-by when he was like 12 years old.
Jesus Christ.
And anyway, they would push down on these parts of your body as hard as they could. Until that part of your body, at first it would go numb, and then it would start to feel like someone's hitting you with hammers. Right. And if you're still screaming out and hollering, the staff would have other kids switch out with whoever. Like, say you got tired, you're pushing on my leg, and you get tired, the staff would switch you out with someone else. Like, these kids would be pinned to the ground with these kids pushing down on each one. Like I said, you got a person here. You got two people on each arm, one on right here, one right here, two people on each leg, one right here, pushing down as hard as they can for an hour, sometimes 2 hours. I remember this kid Chris, man. We had this kid Chris down for almost 4 hours one time.
Jesus.
And
fucking Christ,
this
what the
stuff
hell?
was torture, bro.
Yeah.
And then, like, some kids would try to give you Indian burns with their fingernails and stuff like that, bro. Like,
So what ended up happening? So you guys get in a fight.
I got off on a bunny trail, didn't
No,
I?
you're all good. That's awesome.
So
That's good shit.
Anyway, so look, they restrained us. I asked the kid if he was all right. And I turned around. He hit me. They restrained us. When the other staff, there was one staff in there. When the other staff came in, they asked him, the one staff that was already in there, what was going on. They said that I had gotten hit, so they let me get up. We restrained the other kid for, I'd say, 30, 45 minutes, and then he acted compliant, so we let him back up. And we all came together in a circle on the floor and talked about it and talked about why he did it and what he could have did better. You know, that's the process.
Okay.
And I thought it was over.
Right.
You know?
Should be.
And I was wrong. So because I've already gone off on a bunny trail, I just kind of just skimmed through this. Like I said, he was already he had been on a spree of just doing random crazy things, acting out like that, like where he had
A lot of violence.
he had hit me, he had
Right.
hit that kid Zach out of nowhere. Within that,
Not like he's being a nuisance. He's a violent person.
he was acting out to get attention, but he's just doing it violently.
Right.
There was also another situation that week to where there was this kid Denzel, and he had his head down in class, and you know it's all regular school desk, and Denzel's got his head down doing his schoolwork, and this little bitty Johnny kid comes up and just starts hitting him, boom, 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 just to act out. So anyway, we processed it, and it was over, and I don't think Johnny had any more situations for the next 3 days. Like, he didn't act out and try to hurt nobody. And then one night, I got to go to bed earlier because I was what we called out of the group. Like I said, I was close to going home, so now I
Right.
don't have to. Like, I got to be with the group at all times, but I don't. There were some things that I didn't have to be a part of anymore.
Right. Okay.
So I got to go to bed while they were circled up because somebody was having a problem. And so I go to bed. It's the night before Easter. And I get woke up. The staff screaming, Cody, wake up. Cody, wake up. So I wake up. And I'm like, what? I think I'm in trouble. They're like, you're on fire. And I look at myself. I'm like, oh, shit, what do I do? Sure enough, I'm on fire. So they're like, stop, drop, and roll. So I stop, drop, and roll. It's gasoline. He had poured gasoline on my bed. He had waited till everybody went to bed and the
How the
lights
fuck
were
did he
out.
get gasoline?
Mowing grass. So we had to mow grass every Saturday. Every group, there were 7 boy groups and 2 girl groups. Each group had a part of the facility that they had to manage or clean once a week, every Saturday.
Damn.
And we had to mow the softball field that week. So I guess, had been planning this, man, and
Right.
he filled a regular water bottle up with gasoline.
Damn.
And he waited till everybody went to sleep, and it was a thunderstorm. There was a thunderstorm that night. And once everybody had went to sleep, he leaned down over he had found a lighter. We did this thing called highway cleanup where we'd put on orange vests and we would go and we would walk down the highway and clean up the highway.
Right.
And he had found a lighter on highway cleanup.
Jesus.
And he waited for everybody to fall asleep, and he kind of reached over the bunk bed and poured the gasoline on my back and lit me on fire while I was asleep. And that's what I woke up to.
Jesus.
I was 16 years old. It burnt. 37% of my body was 3rd degree. I got skin grafts on 37% of my body. It was a life-changing experience when I was 16. You know, I almost died. Someone tried to kill me. I'm 16 years old, and I wake up.
Right.
And
Damn. Well, I'm sorry that happened. That just sounds fucking so insane. After hearing that, it's like it seems like that facility, had some good impact on your life, and like there was some really really good moments, but like you said, it ended
there
fucking
was
horribly
pros
for you.
and cons, bro.
Right.
Like I said, there was things that were great, man. It taught me a lot of great communication skills. It
Right.
taught me how to, if there was something with you right now I disagreed with within your character or your actions, I still to this day, they taught us this process of how to get that across to somebody without upsetting them. Like
Right.
they taught me, like, if I thought your watch was inappropriate because it said an inappropriate word or some stuff, or you know what I mean?
Right.
They taught me to deliver this criticism
In a way
and
that
to deliver something positive to you, kind. Hey Joe, how you doing today, man?
Right.
It's a great day. Your hair looks nice today. Hey, I just wanted to say, bro, that your watch, bro, that's like kind of inappropriate while we're on this podcast.
right.
And then instead of leaving it on the negative thing where the last thing I did was criticizing you, I would close out that conversation with something positive again.
Okay.
But yeah, bro, you've been killing it, man. Keep up the good work.
But
They
change
taught us
that.
they taught us communication skills, man, and
Right.
they taught us
No, that's good.
when I'm being addressed. If you get addressed in there, so like staff don't address you in there, the kids address you. Like
Right.
that was the program you had to work. If we were talking in line, it was your job for you, able for you to be able to go home. You had to work a program to where you would step out your comfort zone and you would address me for things that I'm doing wrong. So
Right.
you would say, Cody, you need to no talking in line. And if I said anything other than just the word okay, that was our word. We couldn't say anything else. If I said anything other than the word okay, we would get circled up and put on the floor, and then we had to do these things called time bomb tactics. And still to this day, if I get mad, like I'm 29 years old, I haven't been there since I was 16.
Right.
When I'm mad and I just want the situation to be over, I say okay. No matter
Right.
how bad I might want to say something else, okay is the only thing out my mouth. And that's what I learned from them,
From them.
you know?
All right, well, let's fast forward a little bit. So you get out of there, you heal up from, your wounds. So what did you do after that? When did you go back to Cuba? Did you stay in Springfield for a while?
Oh, no, that was in Poplar Bluff.
Or Poplar Bluff? So where'd you
yeah,
go after Poplar Bluff, and how old were you?
They ended up releasing me straight out for that. Like I went to the hospital. I was in a hospital for 2 months. It was a painful experience, man.
Right.
The whole hospital thing was.
So how old were you whenever we met? Because I think I was 23.
I want to say I was 19.
19? Yeah. So I would have been like 22, 23.
I had only been out of DYS a few years at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So my burns were kind of fresh when I first
Right,
met
right,
you,
yeah.
You know? And like these burns, man, like I told you guys at the beginning, man, I've always kind of been that type of person that I wanted to do everything one step more than the last guy.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of came, part of that, like I've always been like that naturally, but a lot of that came from this.
Right.
Like everybody always wanted to like feel sorry for me or not mention it or wanted me to like, oh, I had this happen to me, but I wanted to take it the other way. So like, if I thought I shouldn't be doing it because of that, I would try to do it even more than
Right.
the normal people,
So when you get out of the what's it called? DYS?
DYS.
DYS. So you're out of DYS and you come back to Cuba. Did you get a job or anything, or did you just immediately kind of just start going to hanging out with friends and then started getting into drugs?
Like I said, I had been in that DYS since I was 13, you know, so I never got to experience being a teenager.
Right.
Before I was 13, like I said, like my home life before we went in, we lived in it was me, my mom, my dad, and I had 3 siblings, and we lived in a hotel called the Wagon Wheel, or a motel. And so we got a whole family in a 1-bed motel that was $18 a night back then. Nasty place.
Right.
So even then, like I didn't
How many
have,
brothers and sisters do you have?
I grew up with 3. I told you when I was 15, I found out that my dad wasn't my
Right.
biological father. I guess there's some.
It's Bridgman and then Walters is.
So I was raised as Cody Bridgman. That's who I am.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, that's what I call you.
That's who I am, man. I'm Cody Bridgman. My dad's name is Sean Bridgman, man. He's a good man today that's got his shit together, but he struggled most of my life. But he sacrificed for me, and I'll never take that from him.
Right.
So I'm Cody Bridgman. My legal last name is Walters.
Oh, okay.
Where was we at? So yeah, when I came out of DYS, man.
Yeah, so you're in Cuba now.
I thought I had a life to catch up on. I thought I had to catch up on things, where when you was a teenager, you were able to go chase girls and
yeah, I was running all over town.
I missed that. So
yeah. And that was the highlight of my life. Right. As being from like 7th grade till my senior year, me and all my like 12, 15 closest friends, every weekend we're hanging out and doing something. We're going places, we're playing ball. Going to the, just being in town, running around town at night, going to different people's houses. So I guess
I missed all that, Joe. That was my thing, and it was
right. So now you're like 19, 18.
So I came out.
You're like 17, 18, and you're trying to find some.
I was 16 when I came out. It was the night before Easter. I got burnt. I was in the hospital for 2 months. My birthday's September 16th, so it wasn't long before I turned 17. But I came out with this mindset that I had some catching up to do.
Right. So how long was it before you got in trouble again? Pretty quick?
Pretty quick. I got out, man, and I met this girl, and I thought she was the hottest thing ever. Just to keep it PG, I love big butts. So I seen this girl with a big butt. This like soccer player butt, and I thought I was in love. And her name was Chloe Brown, and
we might have to edit that out. But Chloe Brown, shout out to you wherever you are.
No, she ended up being my daughter's mom. She's doing great. She's doing great now. She's clean and sober, and I'm proud of her.
Hell yeah, awesome.
But long story short, man, I was out a couple days, man, and I seen this girl, and like I said, I thought I had a lot to make up for, and one of the things I thought I had a lot to make up for was chasing girls.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
So I chased this one, and my home life wasn't no better when I came back. If not, it was probably worse. My parents had split.
Right, so now everything's
two separate households.
Right.
Both of them are still addicts.
Okay.
Neither of them really had a stable home.
So is this when you were introduced to like narcotics?
Yeah, we'll get to the so at this point, I'm trying to make up for lost time. I'm chasing girls. I'm finally getting to see what parties are like. I'm getting to hang out with friends. I'm not in a facility for the first time.
Right, you got freedom.
Since I've, this is the first time since I was at an age where I could think on my own that I was free.
Right.
But at the same time, I was also, hold on, guys. I can hang this up.
We're going to take a quick break.
This Rain Energy, if you guys ain't ever tried it, man, this thing's got me jacked up.
Right. The Rain Energies are pretty badass. All right, so.
What are you drinking on, Joe?
That's just Pure Leaf sweet tea, and then I put like a little bit of something in there to kind of settle my stomach. I have some stomach issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's from drinking from a really young age. Because that was my drug of choice, was partying and drinking. Alcohol was my thing.
When I met you, it was over something to do with alcohol. I don't remember.
Yeah,
exactly
it was all partying, DUIs, and stuff like that.
Did we tell the people what my nickname was for you back then and why?
Yeah.
Did we?
Right. So, I had never really done any serious jail time up to the point where I met Cody. But in 2015, I had gotten 2 DWIs really close together within 6 months of each other, and I was already on some pretty strict probation from some prior alcohol-related offenses for basically just partying a lot. I had a lot of minor visibly intoxicated, minor in possession of alcohol. I partied nonstop from like 2010.
Was a bad boy.
Right. From 2010 to 2015, I got hammered every fucking weekend, and sometimes multiple times a week. So I finally got myself into some real serious trouble, and I had to go to I had to go sit in jail for like 15, 16 days. And up until that point, I had only been to jail for like maybe a few hours at a time, you know, just getting arrested, book and release type thing. So I walk in there, and I remember as I'm getting, you know, when you go to jail and you're staying, okay, for those of you who have never been to jail for, you know, where you have to stay, and the jail staff knows that you're staying. You're booking in, and you're going to be there for a while. It takes a minute for you to get back to the regular, like where everybody else is. You sit in like a holding
pods.
cell. Well, then, you know, you got to dress out. They give you your clothes. You got to take a shower. You got to spread your butt apart and make sure you're not coming in with
Squat
any
and
contraband. It's really,
Left cheek,
really
right cheek.
humiliating. And so I get through all that, and I'm walking back through the jail, and I'd never been into I had only been in holding cells up to this
They
point.
have where he's talking about. He had gotten to. It's what you'd call a rotunda. It's about the shape of an octagon,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
there's what you call pods on it. Like each angle of the octagon is a door to another pod, and in the center of this circle, there's an office. You know.
Yeah, and they're kind of keeping an eye on the place. So I'm walking through this hallway, and they're taking me to my my pod, which was what were we?
We were in E-Pod.
We were E-Pod, yeah, okay. So they take me to E-Pod, and I get in there, and like everybody just kind of looks at me like, what the fuck, you know, like who is this dork, you know, like what did this guy
man,
do?
I thought you were cool. I swear I did.
So I walk in there, and you know, I sit down, and I, you know, kind of introduce myself to everybody. Cody's sitting there, and you know, I get one of the first questions that I asked everybody as I was walking back through the hallway before I got into the pod. I could smell chlorine, and I guess they had like maybe just mopped the floor, and I
don't
kept
know what it
smelling
was.
like it just smelled like chlorine to me, and I could hear water running. Like
Right.
it's like when it sounded like there was like water dripping in something,
Right.
and like you can't see shit. You know,
Right.
everything's black. It's pretty dark in there. And so I get into the pod, and I just kind of asked everybody, I'm like, is there a pool in here? And dude, you guys looked at me like I had fucking...
I thought you said, when do we get to go to the pool?
Right. I might have. I was like, I go, is there...
At the
no, I remember
swimming pool.
I asked, I looked like right at Ed, and I was like, is there like a pool in here or something?
Shout out Ed Hemby. We love you, bro.
Yeah. Ed.
Proud of you, man.
Ed'll definitely see this.
Proud of you, man. Ed's out there killing it too.
Yeah, Ed, we are proud of you. You've come a long way, and thank you for, you know, kind of looking out for me while I was in Crawford County Jail. Without you, shit would have been rough.
You old fart.
So anyway, I'm like, yo, is there a pool in here or something? And you guys all just fucking started laughing, looking at me like, what the fuck? This ain't gonna be good for this poor little guy. Because back then I was small, like I didn't work out really.
He
you
was
know?
green. He was young. You could tell he was nervous and scared,
Yeah.
and it was his first time in trouble.
So from
You
there,
could also tell he was a good kid.
right from that point on, everybody just called me Pool Boy.
That was my idea.
Right. And that stuck.
Yeah.
But enough about me. We're gonna jump back in here and talk a little bit more about Cody, and because you're really the more interesting person, in my
I don't
opinion.
know
You've been
about
through,
that.
you know, my upbringing.
Maybe on
was
this
so
topic,
fucking
man.
mild compared to what you've been through, man. Like
Maybe
when I
this topic make a little more interesting to talk about, man. But your accomplishments, bro, like you've been killing it. I'm jealous.
You'll get there. I mean, it don't take much. You just gotta stay on the straight and narrow, stay away from jackass people, and get around the right people.
Right.
You know, you need 10 Joe Davises in your life. You know, and if you can do that,
I love that energy,
you'll be
bro. That
fucking,
confidence. I love
you'll
it.
be just fine.
Hey,
So
shout out! Everybody needs to get themselves a Joe Davis, man. Level up.
hell yeah. So we're in Cuba. So what was the first thing? What got you thrown into county?
All right, so my first time going to actual jail, I had been out of DYS. Man, I was stealing raps from Burns. I had been out of DYS less than a year. I had met this girl who was to become my daughter's mom, Chloe. And I had this friend, Timmy Springer. Timmy, man, I know you're out there up and down right now, man. I'm here for you. I love you. But anyway, I met this kid, Timmy Springer, or not met. I had this friend I had grown up with, Timmy Springer. And he had been back and forth with my sister my whole life. He had this crush on my sister, Hannah.
Right.
Which it was weird. But anyway, my dad calls. I'm standing outside my grandma's house, and we lived on Springfield Street. My brother still lives in my grandma's house. It's probably the only consistent thing that I've ever had in my life.
Right.
My dad calls and says he's chasing Timmy down the road. Stop him. And so about that same time, I hang up the phone, and I hear, here comes Timmy in this old minivan that his grandparents had given him, and he's whipping it around, all coming off of School Street onto Springfield Street, and he's running, wham! And then here comes my dad in this Oldsmobile with his girlfriend Jessie in the passenger seat, driving like freaking Smokey and the Bandit.
Right.
Well, I'm thinking, man, if I step out in front of this kid, man, like I'm going to get ran over. So I did the next best thing, man. I played baseball growing up. So I grabbed me a brick. And this case is long and done and over with, so I don't care about telling the truth. I get out in the middle of the road, you know, and I get me old baseball wind up. I got my brick.
Who'd you throw it at?
I used the brick to try to stop Timmy's van.
Oh.
Long story short, man, it hit right in front of him, in front of his face on the windshield, and stuck in the windshield. This brick did.
Oh, shit.
So Timmy swerves around me. My dad swerves around me. They go proceed about chasing. My mom come marching down the road because she lives up the road with her boyfriend.
Right.
She's all pissed off.
So you got your mom, her boyfriend, and then dad and his girlfriend.
Dad and his
Timmy.
girlfriend's chasing Timmy over something to do with my sister. Who even knows what? My dad was so dramatic back then.
Right.
Love you, Pop. But anyway, Timmy ran to the police station. He was scared, man. We don't blame Timmy, man. He was scared. He was a kid. He was getting chased by a grown man.
Right.
So he ran to the police station, hops out of his van, and runs into the police station, tells them what's going on. And
you ended up getting arrested somehow,
I
though?
got arrested. But I was in there for a couple days. And may she rest in peace, Timmy's mom. We called her Aunt Becky. She just passed away this year.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
She was an amazing lady, man. She supported all of us kids, no matter how much dumb stuff we did.
Right.
But I was in jail for maybe 3 days. My first time. I was 17. No, I was either 17 or I just turned 18, and I go to court. It's my first court date on it. It's what you call an arraignment, and the arraignment in a little court is basically, I think that's what it's called. Maybe it was the preliminary hearing.
Probably something like that.
Basically, what happens is they'll bring in the arresting officer and they'll bring in the defendant, which is me, and the arresting officer will present his probable cause statement for the warrant, and the judge will decide if there was a crime committed. If there was a crime committed, if there was sufficient evidence enough to say that there was a crime committed, the judge will bound it over from what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with an A. From
I'm not sure.
Court. There's two different kinds of courts. You got circuit court and you got Anyway, if there's a crime committed, the judge will bound it over to circuit court. And so this is that court date. And, I'm thinking I'm hit. Here I am. I'm 18 years old. I've been out of DYS for not very long at all, And
right.
Here comes Timmy's mom, and I'm thinking, she's here to raise hell because this was her van,
Right.
But instead, she looked out, and this sweet lady who's loved me like I was her own son.
Mm-hmm.
She, when the officer was done presenting his case, she stands up in the back of the courtroom and she says, "Your Honor, may I speak? It was my van. Timmy's my son." And amazingly, this isn't even normal, but amazingly, Judge.
Was it the girl? Was it a girl?
it was
Was it Crawford County?
Bernstein, Scott Bernstein.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
He
yeah.
was a cool guy. Scott, shout out Scott, man. You were a really cool judge, man. This guy, like, he believed in me back when I was younger, man. I was
Right.
in and out of that court so much, and this guy would just, he
Try
knew
to
me
help
by
you.
name, but he would like, he'd kind of like tease me like I was just like a
Right.
nephew, man. And he would like, how's it going today, Cody? But anyway, she goes up and she says, Your Honor, may I speak? It was my van. And he stands up. He says, yeah, go ahead. So she stands up and she says, this is all a misunderstanding. That's not what happened. She said her windshield got broke at a different time, that it's not my fault. And basically the prosecuting attorney says, well, if that's the victim, then we have no case, Judge, and
Right.
case dismissed. So I got to go home. But that was my first time in adult jail.
So, how many times, did you get in trouble and go to county before, how many actual charges did you have before you went to, what actually landed you in prison? Was it all drug related or?
Yeah, at that point, it was all drug related.
Okay. So
I
what
went to
year
prison
did you
the first
go to
time
prison?
when I was 19 when we met.
Right.
ended up
Yeah,
going
because
to
whenever
prison.
I met you in county, you were like, I think I'm going to prison. That's what I'm waiting to do.
When I was 19, man, I was facing 28 years. And like I said, I from a small county, and I don't know if this is why, but for some reason, my very first time in trouble as an adult, the county wanted to take all my charges. There was 4 of them.
Were they all felony?
Yeah. I want to say 2 of them were possession of a controlled substance. One of them, I think, was theft. I don't remember what the other one was. But they were all Class C felonies. There was 4 of them.
Right.
And they wanted to run them consecutive, which is crazy being my first time in trouble. I'm a young adult. I'm 19 years old. I'm not even 28 years old.
Right.
And for almost 11 months at 19 years old, I sat in county thinking that I was about to go to jail for a 28-year sentence because the prosecuting attorney would not agree to do anything but run them consecutively, which means that
You're going to get hit hard.
Back then, Class C felony carried between, on the low end was 2 years, the high end was 7 years. That's the max, which is, once again, makes this
You didn't
even
have
more
any
crazy.
like armed criminal actions, did you?
I've
Or-
never had a violent case.
Right. Okay.
I'm not like, I can get angry, but most of the time I'm a happy person, man. I'm like,
Right.
my intentions I've never set out to hurt anybody. I've never set out to make
Right.
anybody's day worse, man. I've always had a lot of
You
things
kind of
going on.
whenever I was talking to you in jail, I remember kind of thinking that you were a lot like me the way I partied, but my thing was alcohol, yours was drugs. So I kind of looked at myself like I would probably be exactly like you if my thing was drugs.
Well, see, the thing is, Joe, like, I wouldn't even say that I was trying to party.
Right. You were just doing
I was
it.
trying to escape.
Right.
I came here today to tell you about my addiction, so I got to keep it 100 when it comes to things like this. I never cared about partying or having fun when it came to getting high.
Right.
I wanted to stop the thoughts and the bad feelings that were in my head, man. Like, I was ashamed of where I came from. I was ashamed of what was going on with my family. I was ashamed of who I was. Growing up, I didn't have self-esteem like at all. Like, I was always embarrassed. I had low self-esteem. I thought I was less than everybody else. Even when I was in school, man, I thought that I was different than people in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, dude, society can make you feel like that for sure. In public school, especially, can make a child feel like that because it's, public school and like the way it's set up, it's very cookie cutter. And if you don't fit into that mold, they really make you feel like shit,
Yeah.
And since your situation was just so chaotic,
I
the
thought I
state
was
can't get
different,
involved
man.
in,
Like, I thought everybody else, like, growing up, man, I thought everybody was, this is going to sound messed up. And like, this wasn't the words that I thought, but to break it down, I thought everybody else was better than me.
right.
In that I was like the bottom of the social everything. And like,
Right,
I was
you were probably
embarrassed,
just
and I always
like,
thought everybody was looking down on me and thinking like, look at this loser, look at this poor person, look at this, I was always
So you had
things
a lot
always
of
hurt.
negative thoughts that definitely, contributed
So
to your
when I
addiction.
started getting high, man, it was because it made me not feel like that.
Right. You felt, the opposite of that.
Yeah, like I fit in. Like I
Right.
was cool now. It was okay to be me is what I felt like.
Right.
And I'm not just saying this, you guys. Like,
No, it
get
makes
kinda-
perfect sense. And
get
I think
kinda
a lot of people
emotional even
can,
thinking about it right now, Joe. Like,
I'm sure a lot of people, have felt the exact same way, because there's a lot of people that have went through the exact same thing as you. Cody's story here is not fucking, a one-off isolated incident. There's a lot of people going through that shit.
yeah. So, like I started out this podcast, I told you guys that you are important. I want to reiterate that. If you're struggling today, man, reach out. You guys, my Facebook's Cody Brisbane. I don't have any other social media. If you know Joe,
Oh, you
can
got to
reach
get an
out to me.
Instagram.
Yeah.
He's
I
going to
just-
have an Instagram after today.
Anyway, if you don't know how to get a hold of me, man, if you're going through something, if you feel like you're not enough, if you feel like there's no point in tomorrow, if you're just having a hard day, reach out, man, because you are important, because people do love you. I love you. I may not know you, but I'm going to tell you right now that you are worth loving, and there's things in this world that make you is just as important as me, as Joe, or as anybody else.
Right.
You matter. And
Whatever
if you're
you do,
having a
don't
bad
turn to the
day,
vices.
reach out, man. I'm here.
Yeah,
And,
just stay away from them vices. And that's one of the biggest problems that people have in the world today is that it's so easy whenever you get upset and you get down and you lose control of your thoughts, it's so easy to turn to a bottle or a pill or the needle or whatever your shit is that gets your rocks off. It's very, very easy to go to that because people don't have a lot of structure. There's not a lot of discipline in people's lives. Like, remember, like when you were talking about being in, what is it?
DYS.
DYS. That was very constructive. Like, it was almost militant. Like, you had that structure
We
day
were
in,
all
day
there,
out.
and also-
And then they let you out into the free world, and boom, what happened? You got no structure, and you're just like, fucking, dude, I'm a
Shoot,
chill.
When I
I'm
left,
just going to
bro,
go.
it was less than no structure. Like, when I went in, my parents were together, and they were at least trying to keep the
Right.
roofs over our head. When I came out,
It
both
was
my
like,
parents
fuck it.
were fucking going crazy, and like, boy, it was bad. Like, some bad stuff. Like, it was bad.
Right.
Anyway,
So what? How did you land in prison? What year was that? And what prison did you go to? And let's talk a little bit about what that was like. What was that experience?
all right, so I went to prison right after we met, and it was because of drugs. Now, like, one of the charges was theft, I think, but
Mostly drug
I'm going to
related.
tell you guys right now that anything that I just told you that, like, I've never set out to commit a crime because I wanted to commit a crime. Like, who wants to just go and break the law? Like, anything I did that was wrong, it was with the intent to escape mentally, which means get high.
Right.
Life sucked day to day for Cody, so there was a point in time where I would do anything to feel better, and that's how I ended up in prison. When we met, I was facing those 4 charges. They were Class C felonies,
Right.
and the prosecutor wanted to run them consecutively, which scared the shit out of me. You know, I was 19 years old, and they said 28 years. We want to give you 4 7s, ran consecutive. 28 years. I'm 19 years old. I didn't know what to do. My mom, when they told me this, my mom's crying in the courtroom. I was scared, I was in county jail. I didn't have money to make a bond. My parents, they couldn't bond me out. I don't care if
Right.
I don't care if we had a bondsman that was willing to do it for $200. My parents wouldn't have been able to come up with it. They were still
Right.
in their active addiction. They're both doing better now by the grace
Yeah.
of God. But yeah, I went to prison after that on those charges. I sat for 11 months in county jail. That's
And
when
then
we
how
met.
long were you in? Which prison did you go to?
So I did 11 months in county, 33 months in prison.
Damn. So that's well over 2 years. It's like 2.5 years. A little over almost 3 years.
So, long story short, I ended up with a 9-year sentence total. But what it was, they dropped one or two what you'd call nollie. So I sat 11 months in county saying no to their plea deals because what 19-year-old is going to accept 28 years their first time ever being in trouble? You
Right.
know what I mean? I was scared
So
to
did
death.
you always have to deal with a public defender, or did you have an actual attorney?
No,
Okay.
like I'd never been able to afford
Right. So that doesn't
There
help.
was a point in time where I had a paid attorney, but he was for my burns, and he was working.
To try to get like a settlement.
Yeah. So, and like one of his things was like if I had gotten convictions, we wouldn't get the settlement. So like he represented me, but like his interests weren't to get me out of jail, or his
Right.
interests were to get paid this $1 million that we were asking for, because he would have gotten 33% of it. So he
Right,
was
so
cool
he was-
with me sitting in jail, because
Right.
if you're in jail, you can't get no more trouble,
Right.
you know. But the thing is, when I was in jail, like I was just the same when I was in school. Everybody else once a week would get this big bag of goodies when canteen came in, and then I would have to sit back and watch everybody. And
Right.
you're hungry in jail. I'm gonna tell you right
Fuck,
now,
yeah.
jail's a hungry place. And while everybody else is getting to enjoy their honey buns and their zuzus and wham whams, I'm sitting back and making excuses on why I don't have money for these things, or
Right.
like I didn't get to make phone calls.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend at this time, my first love. It wasn't Chloe. I loved Chloe, but my first time being in love was this. It was a different girl, Kalinda Kays.
Right on.
I've
All right. So you're in prison. What prison did you go to?
So I made it to prison, man, and went to Fulton first. This is a
Fulton,
diagnostic
okay, yeah.
center. It's diagnostics and receiving and diagnostics, however it goes. I don't remember exactly how long I was there. I ended up with a 9-year sentence. I had 2 7s ran concurrently. After 11 months, they finally offered me a reasonable offer.
Right.
2 7s ran concurrently with a 2 ran consecutively. So the way the parole board worked, they added this up for a 9-year sentence and gave me a percentage. Now, since it was a consecutive sentence, it changes how they execute these percentages. To whereas if I just had 1 7, I would have done 15% of 7. I'd probably have been out 11 or 12 months.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly how it works. But since there was a consecutive one, I had to do a percentage on one,
Mm-hmm.
and then start a percentage on another one.
Right.
And that's why I ended up doing so much time.
So you did like 3 years your first stint up there in Fulton.
No, so I went from in our area, everybody goes to Fulton Diagnostics first.
Okay.
And while you're there, you'll get classified low, medium, high.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're classified, they'll choose what prison you're going to. So I sat at Fulton, and then I got transferred to Cameron DOC.
Where's Cameron, DOC?
It's in Cameron, Missouri.
Where's that at? Like, is it down south, up north?
I know that it's close to Chillicothe, Missouri. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, because there's the women's prison in Chillicothe too.
Yeah, let's hit the Google right quick. You can go ahead and keep asking me questions. I'll Google.
Okay, so
Sure.
probably up around where the women's prison is in
I know
Chillicothe.
it's,
So you're up around like Kansas City area, up north a little bit.
Yeah, so Cameron, Missouri. Cameron, Missouri on a map. Let's see. So this looks like it's northwest. Is that
Yeah,
right?
so up there around Kansas City. Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
there's a
it
So
was,
I knew there was,
it was
a
about
women's
6 hours away from home. So long story short, I
right.
didn't get any visits.
Right.
Uh,
I actually thought about trying to visit you one time, but I was
bro,
like,
that
this
would've
dude
been
probably
awesome,
don't even remember
bro.
who the fuck
Like,
I am.
that
I'ma
whole
show
time,
up.
I didn't get to see.
I didn't know where you were though.
It's all right.
Because I
bro.
had talked to Ed. I was like, hey, have you seen Cody? He's like, I think he's in prison. He's like, I don't know where he is though.
Yeah.
Because I actually reached out to Ed's son too
Yeah.
at one point, and I was like, hey, have you seen your dad? And he's like, I don't know where he is. So But then, you know, I added him on Facebook and, you know, got a hold of both of you guys. So all worked out.
I ended up doing that whole prison bit. I didn't get a single visit. Like, I did most of it there in Cameron. And I didn't waste my time. I didn't get into a lot of trouble. Man,
Was it pretty easy going up there, or was it pretty rough? You know, like we had talked briefly about, you know, like prison politics
prison's
and
what
stuff.
you make it, man. There's certain things that are hard, like you'll get tested. You know,
People fucking with you just purposely.
Well, the thing is, like, if you're young, if you're new, or if you don't present yourself kind of with your chin up and your chest out, like, confidently, people will test you and see what they can get over on you.
Right.
But if you're willing to stick up for yourself, they won't continue to do it, man. And that doesn't mean you got to get into a fight every day. That doesn't mean, like in the movies, you go and you pick the biggest person you can find and you fight them right away.
Right.
What that means is, if someone tries messing with you, you know, chin up, chest out.
Right. Don't
Bro,
cower.
like, stay in your own lane. Leave me alone. I'm doing me.
Right.
And once you get beyond that, prison's what you make it, man. And
Right.
what I mean by that is,
Was there quite a bit of like contraband coming through there?
there's contraband in prison.
Did you ever
man.
have a cell phone or anything?
I've personally never seen a cell phone in prison. I know they're there,
Right.
but I've been a poor son of a gun. All my
Right.
prison bits, I've never. I think the best I ever did in prison was I got $20 a week, and that was this last time I was in there. And if you were to get a cell phone in prison, it would be like $800 to do that. And like,
Right.
yeah,
So
that's
you
just-
had to be doing something.
you had to be balling.
Right.
But there's as many drugs in prison as there is out of prison. There's actually a specific drug that there's more of in prison than there are out of prison. That's K2, what we call deuce.
The fake.
Yeah. There's more of that in prison than out of prison.
Damn.
But there is as many situations and opportunities to get high or to get in trouble in there as there is out here. Prison's not a place you go and you change your life because you got taught something. Prison is convict college.
Right.
Okay?
Could potentially make a person worse.
It could definitely make you worse. It makes a lot of people worse. All these people that go in there and they get,
Like a guy like me, you know, if I would have went
You
to
would've been
prison
all
like
right,
I should have
Joe.
been.
Joe, you'd have been all right.
Right, but I probably would have, you know, I would have gotten in trouble in jail. You know, I'd have been fucking around.
I mean, you seen how I was when we were in county, you know, like I was kind of assertive. And when you met me, man, I was angry at the world.
Fuck yeah, dude, you were you were awesome, dude.
I was angry at the world, man. Like I said, I was 19 years old. I was facing 28 years. I was scared to death. So I was angry. I acted out a lot when I was in
just like,
county
man,
with
I'm
Joe,
glad
like-
this dude's on my team.
Yeah, I acted out a lot, man. I thought I had a point to prove, so I would start stupid fights for no reason.
Yeah, I remember somebody like kind of pissed me off. You're like, somebody fucking with my bunkie.
Yeah,
The
no,
whole
like-
fucking pod got quiet. Like, oh god damn it. Here we
Yeah,
go.
when I was a menace, dude, in county for those 11 months, man, I thought I had something to prove. I was a smaller guy, but I wasn't afraid to get beat up. When we were in county together, man, I was very angry at the world because of the time I was facing and just because I was scared. So, and I had already, what I felt like, been ripped off a lot of my life. So,
Yeah.
I expressed that by trying to prove that I was tough in every situation that I could, like, which
Right.
I'm gonna tell you guys right now is fucking stupid. You ain't got to prove nothing to nobody. Being the tough guy is not cool, man. We're not in fucking 6th grade, bro.
Right.
Like, who cares that you're tough? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to tell you what's cool is success, guys. Success is cool. I'm going to tell you what I think is cool. Here I am, 29 years old. I've been to prison 4 times. I think Joe is one of the coolest people I know because this man here, he's got a family. He's got his own house. He has a career. This boy don't have a job that he's living paycheck to paycheck. This man has a career, and he's saving money, and he's not worried about what he's going to eat tomorrow, and he's smiling, and he, like, I haven't seen Joe face to face in 10 years, but I promise you that I can tell you right now that a lot of his focus in day to day is being happy. you
Right,
know?
for sure,
And,
yeah.
Joe, you're doing a good job. You have a beautiful home here, bro.
Thank
You
you.
got this podcast you're doing, man. You got your
Right.
career. That
Well,
is
I mean,
cool, bro.
at one point in time, we were both sitting in the same jail cell.
Right,
So
but-
for anybody that, you know, for whatever reason feels like, you know, what I have or what other people have, you know, that you can't attain some sort of success, and that success is, you know, basically just not being on drugs and having a chaotic
goals.
life. You know,
gotta have goals.
You know?
Having goals is cool.
Right. So for anybody who sees this, because I remember there was a point in my life where I just felt like, you know, I wanted to be successful, but I was like, dude, I don't think I can. I just don't think it's for me. I don't have what it takes. You know, I got too many problems.
But
It's
you
too
do.
easy. It's too
Look
easy
at
for
you
me
now,
to
man.
fucking, you know, it was at one point it was too easy for me. I knew that I needed to work on my business and I needed to get my life together, but it was way too easy to go to the bar,
Yeah.
you know, and just
Or
go
to
hang
go
out.
and try to be cool for these people that
Right, to try to
aren't
hang
even
out.
worried about their
Yeah,
own
that don't
life.
even give a fuck about me,
You know what
you
I
know,
mean?
or themselves. Exactly.
Shit, man.
So, you know, if anybody that sees this and maybe
Goals
you know,
are cool, people.
yeah, you gotta have, you know, something that you're looking forward to, and you need to have, you know, a daily, you know, kind of like a routine, something that is getting you through your day constructively and working towards taking small steps, stacking small daily wins.
Can I say something that's a little off topic than from the questions, but it's what you're saying now?
No, you're good.
Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Like in life, to stay still or to go backwards is stupid. If you spend every day doing the same thing and you haven't done a single thing today to try to make yourself a little farther and closer to your goal tomorrow, you are dumb. Sorry.
Right.
But you don't have to be dumb. Every day you should strive to be better in all aspects. And that's a concept that took me a lot of years to learn. But if you're not working on being better, if you're not working today to be better tomorrow, what are you working on?
Exactly.
Where are you going?
Right. You're not going anywhere. You're just kind of in limbo.
Right. So let's get back to I know we got a lot to cover and we've already used up a lot of time. So I'm going to try to cut my stories a little more shorter.
Right. So
I'm not worried about time, Joe, but I know you got to keep these podcasts at a
right. No, we'll wrap it up here. You know, we'll go. We'll do it.
we ain't got
We'll
to,
talk
bro.
a
We
couple.
can jam out for fucking 3 hours if you want to.
Right. Well, just for time constraints and you know, I can always have you come back on. And I probably will. So
I don't know.
you're out of
Tomorrow's
prison.
gonna go.
How long have you been out of prison now? And you know, kind of what's your plan? I've noticed
so-
over the past year you've really been trying hard to, you know, get shit together. Do you have you know, what was different this time when you got out?
What was
you're like,
different
hey,
this
I'm-
time when I got out.
Where you know, because you're not going back to, you know, you're not skipping. You're
part of my life is over.
right.
Like I may not be perfect, and I might make a mistake. You know, I'm not saying I'm gonna relapse, but I'm not perfect. Joe's not perfect. Joe's fucking awesome, but he's not perfect. What was the question, bro?
It's all good. So what's like your kind
What's
of
different?
what's a plan?
Okay,
you know
so,
what?
yeah.
Because the last time you got out, I guess you had gotten in trouble again, but now you're like, hey man,
I've never
enough's
gotten
enough.
out with the intentions to go straight back to being stupid.
It just kind of
But
happens.
what's different? It was back then I hadn't realized that I didn't know how to live different. I'm an addict. I'm in recovery. I've also had a struggle in a different upbringing. I'm not making excuses. I'm a grown man, so my choices are my choices. But what I'm saying is, before I never realized that I needed to relearn the things that I thought was normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been happy with that other lifestyle.
Right. You would
And,
definitely say that, you know, being sober and staying with your program and you know, whatever it is that you're doing on a day-to-day basis is way better than just being out there in chaos.
My worst day sober is better than any day that I spent high, no matter how much fun I thought I was having.
Right.
My worst day, not on drugs, is 10 times better than my best day on drugs.
Right on.
Yeah. What's different, Joe? Just to fucking sum that up is, shoot, that's so hard, bro. Why you hit me with such a deep one? Like, I know what I want to say, but like, there's a lot. And
I think that just from what I've seen, I think that you're ready. You know, you're ready to put all that shit behind you.
I am ready, man.
You're ready
I've
to, have some
for a long
things.
time, Joe. But what,
Right.
like, you're right. Like, there's an astronomical difference from this time when I got out and all the other times. And I want to say what it is, man, is I just had enough, man. And I'm out of excuses. I'm almost 30 years old. I'm out of excuses. I've been to prison 4 times.
That 30 mark is a big one.
I've let down more people in my life than I could care to tell you.
Right.
When we went to jail, when we were in jail together, like I said, I was in a relationship with my first love, which she
probably didn't stick around.
Well, she was with me the whole time we were in county, and then when I got to prison, she sent me a letter and said that she had met somebody and she owed it to herself to give it a try. And she loved me, she'd always have love for me, but she needed to give it a try, which I'm not mad at her for that. But
yeah, women typically don't want to stick around.
This struck a chord with me, bro, because I'm a thinker, man. I will overthink everything, man. And like, I knew the things that I was doing. I've always known the things that I was doing wasn't okay, man. And I've always wanted different for myself. I just didn't know how to get it. But that struck deep because I was in love with that girl, man. I thought, like, she had never done drugs and she believed in me in a way other people had never believed in me. And I could have, if I wasn't an addict and if I knew how to live every day without drugs, like, maybe that could have worked. I could have been with that person that made me believe in myself.
Right.
But because of my decisions, I was put in a situation where I couldn't ask her. I couldn't, with all good conscience, ask this girl to wait these years, and for me for
you to finally figure it out.
And she had already waited for me to figure it out so much before,
Right.
But that struck a chord somewhere in there, but that's not what's different now. But even back then, like, that struck a chord, like that something. It was me. I was the problem.
I see that 100%, and I really think that this time is different for you because like I've said, we've been friends on Facebook for a long time, and this time I really noticed that you're hitting the gym, and it seems like you're really serious about getting your life together, and I really hope that you stick with it. And like I said, I'm here for you if you ever need anything from me. I'm gonna support you to stay clean, sober, and support you in whatever you want to do and whatever you want to accomplish. So, having said that, Cody, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I think I'm gonna have you back on at some point. So yeah, we're gonna wrap this.
Can I say one more thing to the viewers real quick? I didn't really get to touch too much on like more of the addiction. We spent a lot of time on just telling my story, and which it was great. I hope you guys can relate somewhere and take something from that and just see that you guys are worth it and change can happen. We believe in you. I believe in you. Joe believes in you. Your family needs you. If you are in addiction today, your family loves you. We love you. Reach out when you are ready. There's somebody there that cares, that is praying for you, and you are worth it.